What are we gonna do?
Welcome to Matinee Prices.
Oh, we're gonna do an intro? Like,
yeah, why not?
Clap, take, zoom in on stuff. Alright, here we go. Whoa, extreme close up.
Alright, take two. Welcome to our first official episode of Matinee Prices. I'm Cameron Price. Huru Price. Tonight, we're going to be talking about vampire movies. We have a few picked out that we're going to do, and this is actually going to be a two-part episode, so this is part one. I feel like vampire movies are kind of like World War II movies. They're never going to go out of style, and every once in a while they'll get like the way Saving Private Ryan and Thin Blue Line, Thin Red Line, kind of reinvigorated the World War II drama.
Right.
Every so often, like a genre will kind of go out of favor and then come back. Zombies in the midst of this zombie craze right now, but
vampire movies never really go out. Since they've been introduced, there's just either been a lot of them or a few of them.
Yeah,
but they keep going.
Going.
They're never gonna stop.
Yeah, but you'd have to agree that in the past 5 to 10 years, there's been kind of like a resurgence.
Oh yeah. Well,
with good stuff, because I feel like a genre that's been done to death.
Huh.
If you're going to tackle something that's been done a million times, you have to kind of bring something new to the table. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you do need to present it in a new way or show the audience something they've never seen before.
The Twilight series tackled it like another million times on its own.
Yeah.
So it's literally been done 2 million times.
Yeah, but the Twilight movies are to vampire movies what Avril Lavigne is to punk rock. It's like
I don't know who Avril Lavigne is. Yes, I do.
Okay,
that's not true.
You're the coolest person alive.
I was like, I tried.
It's basic. If you like them, that's fine. But if you're not a teenage girl, you probably shouldn't talk too much about it.
Yeah.
Because it's like I said, they have their audience and that's fine. But yeah, it's that's not the kind of movie we're talking about here today. So I figure before we get into the movies the specific movies we're gonna talk about, maybe we should just give a little overview of some of the movies that started it. Obviously going back to F.W. Murnau's silent black and white classic Nosferatu.
Okay. Yeah.
Which he tried to make a movie. He was trying to make a movie version of Dracula, but couldn't get the rights to it. So the way he got around it was he just changed the vampire's name from Dracula to Orlok, and essentially just did Dracula. It has the exact same storyline. He just called the guy Orlok instead of Dracula.
Right.
Which is pretty clever, and that I feel like that.
Who just did that? Oh, the White Whale movie that just came out with Chris Hemsworth.
Like Moby Dick.
Well, it was Moby Dick, but it wasn't Moby Dick. It's supposed to be the story. They're making a movie of the story that inspired.
Yeah.
So that's basically what he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got that, and then 10, 15, 20 years later, whenever it was, probably more like 10 or 15 years later, you had the Universal classic starring Bela Lugosi, and which was the first great American vampire movie, and made Bela Lugosi a star, introduced American audiences to like gothic cinema. Right. I feel like, and
name of the title, title of the movie,
Dracula.
Right.
And
yeah, you'll have to say that because there's people like, which one was that? Is that Count Dracula, Vampire Dracula,
the
Dracula's Are Us, Son of Dracula, Dracula and the Monkeys, or Scooby Doo.
Yeah. I'm sure Scooby-Doo tackled Dracula.
Oh,
yeah. They had to. They would have had to.
Yeah.
But probably the first great American horror film, and then after that, Universal Studios, started cranking them out. Frankenstein, the Werewolf, Wolfman, Creatures in the Black Lagoon, The Mummy,
Invisible Man. How soon did that come in? Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been in that
later, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was probably the 40s, maybe the 50s.
Okay.
But yeah. All those are together.
Yeah.
But and then
hit the next ones real quick.
Yeah, and then you had the Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing Hammer films, and going into the 70s and 80s, and you had the Roman Polanski Fearless Vampire Killers, or Fearless Vampire Hunters. Right. You had Guillermo del Toro did Kronos, which was a bizarre twist on a vampire movie. And then you get into the 80s, in 1987, you got the 1-2 punch of Near Dark and Lost Boys.
Yeah.
Two great movies.
Was that Cameron?
It was Catherine Bigelow.
Okay.
Who was married to James Cameron at the time, and she basically used the entire cast of Aliens.
Of Aliens, yeah.
Bill Paxton, Lance Henriksen. Great movie.
Vasquez, whose real name I can't remember.
Right. And it was and that movie didn't get the proper appreciation at the time because they released it pretty much the exact same time that they released Lost Boys. And it was like the American audiences only had room in their heart for one, like, dirty, like, gory vampire movie. Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula, Gary Oldman.
Keanu Reeves. He's the hero to us all.
God bless him.
He's going to save us from everything. He's the one.
He is the one.
He is the one.
He is the one. You can do Shakespeare and Bill and Ted and The Matrix and John Wick.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking rad. But cheers to Keanu Reeves.
I'm not cheering Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, I like Keanu Reeves more than he does.
He can cheer Keanu Reeves.
But I guarantee you like Speed.
Yeah, all right.
All right. There we go. We can agree on that. And Point Break, it's impossible not to like Point Break.
God.
Ha ha! Got him. All right, so there's a little overview of some classic vampire movies. I'm sure most of those you've seen. Maybe a couple you hadn't. If you haven't seen Nosferatu or Near Dark, check them out. If you're a fan of the show True Blood, you'd probably really dig Near Dark. It kind of has the same look and feel. But
a lot less sex.
A lot less sex.
A lot less sex. There's not too much outside of the adult film industry that has more sex.
Oh, True Blood was essentially just softcore porn with vampires and werewolves, but you know.
I love sex as much as the next guy, and I'm assuming that would be him, but that was like a little too much. Like, we gonna tell a story, or we just gonna drink blood and have sex all day?
Yeah, whatever floats your boat.
True Blood said, yeah, the latter.
We're gonna do B.
You got a problem with that? I'm like, yeah. Go ahead. Sure.
So on tonight's episode, or this first episode that we're doing, we want to talk about some recent vampire movies, a lot of which you've probably never seen or maybe even heard of, because we're going to talk about some lower budget, some underground stuff. But what would you like to start with?
Well, I'll say that what we're going to finish with is basically, we'll save it for last, because Let the Right One In was sort of like the movie that flipped everything as far as telling vampire stories, vampire movies are concerned recently. And since then, like, there have been a lot of, we can do different things with vampire movies and have a little more imagination. So we've got 4 of those, and then we'll finish up with Let the Right One In.
And the American remake.
And the American remake.
Let Me In. So you want to get the ball rolling with...
All right. So let me start. I'll take point on this one. I think we've both seen this, because I not realizing that this was going to be a vampire movie, picked up Afflicted, which
great movie.
As I've said before, I like sort of actiony, dark stuff, like kinetic energy in my movies. It's rare that I do like the slow dramas, although I do them. So the cover, the movie poster showbox, if you will, of the movie is kind of a curveball, because when I saw it, I was thinking
zombies,
like infected people, outbreak, zombies sort of thing. That we've all seen. What's the one with Brad Pitt, based on the
World War Z
and all this stuff? Where if they're affected and they're running fast and they're eating people, then it's not just regular zombies. But so that's what I thought it was. and had set my mom for it, got some popcorn, sat it down. And yes, they did do that, as far as an infection version goes.
Kind of treated it as a disease. Yeah.
They just went vampire route instead of zombies.
Right.
And did an excellent job. And when I say an excellent job, their budget was $319,000.
There's these two guys, Derek Lee and I want to say
Cliff Krause.
Derek Lee and Cliff Prowse. They are the two stars. They wrote it together. They produced it. They both directed it. And apart from the few odd short films here and there, these guys, this was their first feature. They had done some short films, none of which I had ever seen or even heard of.
It looks like
these guys came out of nowhere, essentially.
Well, it looks like they grew up together. That footage that they had was them.
They're obviously best friends.
They're best friends. They've been making films in their backyard together when they were little. So this was just a natural extension for them. And they went. I had it down. They filmed in Barcelona, Paris, Italy, and Vancouver. Again, $300,000 they spent going to these 4 places.
Yep.
And what they cobbled together, while it wasn't, it's amazing. I think it made like $100,000.
Yeah, it wasn't even a hit. And it's one of those movies you need to find and watch, and then tell your friends about it, because that's how filmmakers like this get to continue working. Is like.
Even without that, because remember, this is for you to pick out and watch on your own. I promise you, you have seen much worse movie, way worse movies
in theaters that you pay $10 to see.
In theaters, at home, Netflix or whatever, that cost 50 times as much, that made 50 times as much, and were nearly up to par with this little small film.
That is true.
And I don't want to say too much on it. It is on the actiony side. There are some horror moments in it, and it's all dark and gritty. There's not too much laughable or lightheartedness, although it is in there for
There's
balance.
some jarring comedy. It kind of comes out of nowhere.
It comes out of nowhere, but what they did and the route that they took is actually, a lot of it is even. It helps them with saving money, and the fact that they made it for $300,000. A lot of people don't like. I've never had a problem with the found footage.
I never had a problem with it. I just feel like it was getting oversaturated. It's like every horror movie, it had to be like a found footage horror film.
Since Blair Witch.
But this one, they figured out a neat way to do it, in that it's two guys and they're essentially making a travelogue DVD that they're uploading to the internet for their friends and family to watch. So it makes sense, because it's organic to the plot of the movie. These guys are just filming everything they do. Afflicted, great movie. It's a testament to what it's basically a testament to what a couple of guys who just want to make movies can do if they have drive and ambition.
People, anybody, guys, girls, anybody.
Anybody.
Get a camera.
Get a camera, and
for very little money. And granted, we don't have $300,000 on us. I'm saying, but as far as making movies,
I don't think I can make anything near that good. Like what they pulled off is nothing short of incredible. And
watch it just to see what you can do. What these guys did. I'm like, oh, you can do that?
And
yes, you can.
And the fact that they did have it wasn't a special effects driven movie by any stretch, but it's a horror movie about vampires, so there's going to be special effects in it. And the stuff that they do that they do in the film, they pull off exquisitely, to the point to where, again, you come back to how did they pull this off with such a low budget? And
the femme fatale is amazing. Let's just put it that way.
Exactly. And there's some great action scenes that rival any Hollywood blockbuster that cost $50 million to make.
Yep.
And the performances are these are two actors you've never seen before in anything. They carry this film. It's apparent that they're best friends. It comes through.
Yeah.
These guys have great chemistry together. And I can't say enough about it.
Afflicted 2013. Check it out.
Check it out.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what do we want to do? You want to do?
So, what we do in the shadows?
What we do in the shadows? All right.
Yeah.
You take point on that one.
Okay. So now we're going in the complete opposite direction.
Complete opposite.
We go from found footage horror film to
documentary.
Mockumentary. In the vein of Waiting for Guffman, Spinal Tap, all those great films. It was a film written and directed by Jermaine Clement and what's the guy's name?
Taika Waititi.
Taika Waikiki or something. I think he's maybe.
Yeah, I think they're New Zealand.
Yeah, and he might be like part Maori, like Timor Morrison, the guy from Boba Fett.
Yeah,
or Jango Fett.
Jango Fett.
But it was financed, I think, by the New Zealand Film Commission for New Zealand television. But it's basically the premises, and it's a little similar to another movie that we're going to talk about later, or in the next episode, Only Lovers Left Alive, in that it kind of focuses on just kind of the mundane life of vampires. It's like, it's not glamorous. It's first off, it's hilarious. Like, this movie is one of the most genuinely funny,
oh my goodness,
laugh out loud movies you will see in a long time. If you're a fan of Flight of the Conchords, it's got Jermaine Clement, who is also hasn't done a lot of great movies. He's usually the best part of bad movies, like Men in Black 3 or Dinner for Schmucks.
Right.
You know,
right.
so he's done some big budget Hollywood movies that maybe you've seen. They're just not so great, but he's almost always the best part of a mediocre movie.
Who was just in X-Files?
Was he in X-Files?
Who was the lizard? Didn't you recognize him? We're not
werewolves,
we're werewolves.
We're werewolves, not swearwolves.
Not swearwolves.
And I'm blanking on that dude's name. He's a New Zealand comedian. He's been on At Midnight several times. He was on an episode of Modern Family. He was in a recent episode of X-Files. What Huru described as of basically like a parody episode of the X-Files, which actually was the X-Files.
Exactly was it.
But and again, I'm totally blanking on that guy's name. He's an amazing actor, funny as hell. He plays a werewolf in the movie. It's shot documentary style, and it's basically just these four friends, and they live in a flat together in New Zealand, and they're just kind of going through the motions of what it's like to be a vampire in modern times. It pokes fun at the conventions of vampire movies with the way they dress and talk. You know, the one guy has like an affinity for the old romantic style vampires, and the other guys kind of make fun of him for it. They have like a Jets versus the Sharks West Side Story thing going on with the werewolves, but they're both, it's a movie about supernatural beings with superhuman strength, but they're all kind of ineffectual and laughable.
Who are basically human.
Yeah, they have all the
flawed as humans
they have
are.
all the human ups that you would come to expect, and
except they drink blood and don't die.
They drink blood and don't die, and it culminates with like a big end of the year party where all the vampires get together and
everything. If everything you've seen and heard about vampires, they touch on and turn on its ear. And they are doing the werewolf sequel.
Yeah, and I heard that they are. I'm 90% sure that I read somewhere that they are making a sequel from the werewolves' perspective, and it'll be the actors who played the werewolves.
What We Do in the Moonlight, I think, is what they were.
That would be that would have to be the title.
Yeah, that's what I read that they wanted to do.
It's hilarious. Like I said, it's in the vein of This Is Spinal Tap or Waiting for Guffman or Real Life or any of the great like mockumentaries that have been made through the years.
It's very lighthearted. If you're trying to introduce someone to horror films and they're not sure they can handle horror films, this would be sort of a nice bridge. Exactly. Because they're doing vampires, they're doing werewolves, they're still doing the vampire and werewolf things. There's a couple of scenes in there where,
there's some blood.
You're like, whoa, and towards the end it gets really serious. Like there's like a couple of times when, like, all right, somebody needs to do something real quick. This would be perfect, and then you would know if they got squeamish on these things. I'm like, all right, we don't need to go. You need more training. You need more time to deal with it. But and it's funny. It is really entertaining.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious.
And if you're one of those people that's like Huru and I, where like a moderately funny line is a million times funnier spoken with a New Zealand or Australian accent,
or British,
yeah. But it's like just Dan Aykroyd could say something and it'd be hilarious, but if Eric Idle said the exact same thing, it's infinitely funnier just because.
Well, also because he's Eric Idle.
Cheers to Eric Idle.
Yeah, the whole Monty Python crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, What We Do in the Shadows hilarious, a unique twist on the vampire movie. It's poking fun at everything about vampire movies, but it's obviously a loving homage to vampire films, sort of in the way like, you know, when Mel Brooks did Young Frankenstein, you got the impression like he's not making fun of, you know, the Frankenstein films. He's obviously a huge fan,
Right.
But there's a silliness to these movies that you have to acknowledge.
Yeah.
And I feel like What We Do in the Shadows is that it's acknowledging the kind of silly, over romanticized notions that go along with the vampire genre as a whole. Yeah.
What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows.
I think it was
10 out of 10 stars. 2012, 2013?
14. Yeah.
Yeah. Most of these movies that we're talking about are incredibly recent. I guess the oldest thing we're, like, the furthest back we're going to go is to the Let the Right One In, Let Me In.
Yeah.
So I think, I think we could wrap up this show here. I'm Cameron Price.
Huru Price.
And we both highly recommend What We Do in the Shadows and Afflicted.
And if you didn't like, if you weren't feeling this show, we'll try and do better next time.
Yeah, we're
Cool.
new at this. Take it sleazy.